Once again, this episode is being brought to you by Diesel Fuel Prints. Diesel Fuel has been in the business since 1991, and Andy has been printing all of my stickers since the early 2000s. He's been a guest on this show, and he's a friend and somebody I've worked with for a long time. So I can highly vouch for his business because I use it myself. Highest quality weatherproof stickers, easy online ordering, and quotes on any size and shape sticker you can think of. Full color printing, and 125 black and white stickers start as low as $25. Free shipping on all orders at dieselfuelprints.com. And my listeners get a 10% discount if they use the promo code AWP2021. Check out Andy and his stickers. He does a great job. Let's get to the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guests are Adam Baum Siegel and Rob Rushing of punkrocksaveslives.org. I've had Adam on before to talk, and he talked a little bit about Punk Rock Saves Lives. It was nice to bring Rob into the conversation so he could expand more about what it is Punk Rock Saves Lives does. They're a charitable organization that raises money for different causes through the punk rock scene. It's really cool stuff. In particular, they were on to talk about, they have a new compilation record coming out called Punk Rock Saves Lives, the album Volume 1. And they came to me to do the artwork for that. So I got to do the front and back cover for the album. It came out really cool, and it was super fun to work with them. And I'm always honored to do anything that might actually potentially help people. You know what I mean? Like, I do a lot of art for a lot of random stuff, and it's cool to do something that has meaning outside of just looking cool. And so I was happy to help. It was cool to have them on. This is a great episode. As always, all the stuff, information about the show can be found in the links below. Give us a like, share, follow. Share this, please, on your social media to help spread the message of Punk Rock Saves Lives. This episode, more important than any other, that it gets shared around so people can learn about the great stuff that these guys are doing inside of the punk rock scene. Great episode. Check it out on the other side of this. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm Mike, and today's guests are Adam and Rob from punkrocksaveslives.org. What's up, dudes?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, it's a Zoom call. You can't all talk at once.
Yeah, exactly. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. I am doing fantastic. I've been like right in the middle of my big contract. I contract work with this big toy company, and I've been like right in the middle of like a big batch of work, and I'm in the last like 2 days, so I've been busting ass for like 2 weeks. So I'm like looking forward to taking a little time off here soon. So if I'm a little bit frazzled, it's because I have been working my ass off for the last 3 weeks.
It's good to be busy,
especially nowadays. Yes, it's pandemic has made us make some tough choices, so it's good that you could keep going through it. That's rad.
So. I was expecting it to go away, and it never did. And then like the album artwork, partially thanks to Adam and I Am Records, has been going crazy. Like the last few months, I've been doing so many album covers. Everybody's getting back to it, you know.
Yeah.
And so everybody like spent their quarantine writing and recording, and everybody's, getting stuff together. And so now I'm getting hit up by, bands from Sweden and all over the place. Like it's
crazy. We see it on the pressing plant side too, with the time it takes from the time you approve your test pressings to the time you're on the schedule and getting stuff back. And since I relaunched I Am Records, and have been doing a steady series of releases, I've been working with Pirates Press out of the Bay Area. They've been really easy to work with. But I got word the other day that if you're not an existing Pirates Press client, It's going to be tough to become one right now because they're buried with their existing clients. So it's going crazy, but the vinyl is moving and people are playing the records. They're posting their videos. They're not just buying it as a vanity piece or an artifact. And I've preached for years about the interaction with the vinyl, the sound of it being different. I won't say better because then somebody will say, no, CDs are better, but I don't care. It's different, and it's a different experience holding the record cover, reading the credits, that whole thing has been a major part of my life since I was 12 or 13. And so it was lonely for a decade or so, in the 90s. And I'm enjoying seeing, my passion kind of really taking hold again. It's awesome.
Well, and as he talks about that, it was kind of funny that, we launched Punk Rock Saves Lives right before, in November last year, right before the pandemic. And we're set, ready to rock, going on tour with bands, going to be out there doing good. And then the night before I joined Anti-Flag on tour, they pulled the whole plug on everything because of COVID. And I turned around and drove the camper from Rochester, New York, back to Denver. And we've been here since trying to figure out ways. And one day I just called Adam after he was really getting IM going again. And I went, hey, are we going to do a compilation album for the charity? And he was like, yes.
That's like how we started a band together as we were drunk on the Flogging Molly cruise. And I said, we should start a band together. And you said, yes.
Yes. There was, hey, when Adam Baum asks you to be in a band, do you say no? No, you say yes. And I was doing punk rock karaoke with the punk rock karaoke guys and, Darren and all those guys. And I stumbled off the stage, to be honest. I kind of stumbled over to the side and Adam's standing there and he goes, hey, Rob, we're putting a band together. And I was just like, yes. And there you go. On the way home, we toured home from the cruise as the kind of the first thing the charity did other than the Flogging Molly cruise was I literally drove home to Denver with Authority Zero and Pennywise in the Bronx. Oh, wow. And so I just went to their shows and I would set up a little table and try to do something in that area, like, get people interested in the charity and, showing that punks can do some good. We really hadn't really set the missions as of that point. But I was driving home anyway, so you might as well go home with three of your favorite bands. So I'm driving along with them and developing more and more ideas. And we get all the way back to Denver and we're getting geared up to go. And then COVID hit. So we had to turn a lot of quick turns. And somehow in the middle of a pandemic, we have become one of the most known punk rock charities. So I guess we're doing some really cool stuff, a lot of online stuff, a lot of the PMA sessions. We've come up now. We have all sorts of support groups going. We have a sober punks group, sober and sober curious group you can join every Tuesday night and call in. And we have a self-harm group. We have a mental health group, all sorts of stuff, just through all this. And, we got to support it in some cool ways. And these vinyl fundraisers should be pretty rad. I'm knee deep in getting us the bands for volume 2 already, Mike. So,
so to give everybody a little bit of background, Punk Rock Saves Lives put out, explain people real quick what Punk Rock Saves Lives is and what it does.
We are I call us a utilitarian nonprofit. The idea is that, the actual background is that I and my wife worked for another charity for the last 10 years that so many punk rock bands took us on tour. We did the National Marrow Donor Program and asked kids to get their cheeks swabbed at concerts to build up the chance of saving lives from blood cancers. And they decided to do away with their outreach program, which meant our jobs came to an end. And my wife and I both felt like we had not finished doing good in the world. And I presented the idea of Punk Rock Saves Lives to it was something that had been in the back of my brain, to her, to my wife, and to Nathan Maxwell from Flogging Molly, and to Justin from Anti-Flag, and to Adam from the faction. And I said, guys, I'm thinking about this. And not a single person said no. Everybody was like, let's do it. And the idea is that we can use our community, the punk rock community, to affect positive change in the world. And that can be marrow drives still. It can be food drives. It can be, we just started working hand in hand with a group called Period Kids to get period supplies for the underserved of our communities. And these guys are great. So we're going to start collecting those, getting people to drop them at different cool places to build period kits. We can support other charities if we find something rad, like the Sidewalk Project out there in LA that work directly with the hand on hand with the homeless community. We've sent them some money just to try to help. And that's a grassroots organization, run by a bunch of amazing people and influenced by like Stacey D at Bad Cop, and a lot of other rad punk rock musicians. So it's a way we can continue to do good in the world, but it not just be narrow focused into cancer or into mental health. Even though those, we're saying now that the focus of the charity is wellness and equality. So that gives us room to work, and we want to stay in those things. Wellness, wellness ideas, that could be there's a whole genre there that we can go to. Mental health being what has really become the big push during the pandemic. We've tried to be there. Yeah, we've tried to be there for people, give them an ear. We are not licensed professionals. We make a big point of that. We are your first step. Please reach out. We can talk to you as a friend and then help you move to, if you need a professional in your area, we can help you try to find that resource. And that's what we want to be. We want to be that first line that maybe you're comfortable saying, oh, I need help, to one of us, and then we can help you get that real help. Or maybe just keep you positive enough time to get that real health. So, we walk a line there. So we want to make sure we really make a big deal we aren't licensed professionals. We want to, we just want to be your first ear if you need it. Or just a friendly voice or a resource to get you to the right thing. So it's grown really, really fast into some different things, but the idea is that we can move and shake. We can represent, if you say the faction did a big tour again, and Adam's going to start laughing, but if the faction did a big tour again and wanted us to come out and do a petition about the cost of insulin, we could do that. And I'm a diabetic, so that's something that's interesting to me. But we can move and shake to what bands are wanting. And we can work on, if a band has a concern, say Pennywise is worried about cleaning the beaches, we can represent or raise money to help clean the beaches. So it's a really rad way to offer bands a way to do philanthropy, and they don't have to do anything except go, hey guys, we want this. And we're like, we're on it. And it's grown even without being able to tour. Obviously the idea and the online community has grown so fast and so beautifully. And, we have great board of support, and we're going to get there. And now that everything's starting to open up, we have been inundated over the last 3 to 4 weeks of festivals inviting us, and tours are announcing. And so we got to figure out what we can do in this first comeback time. And, not being the typical nonprofit person, but that does mean we need to do a lot of fundraising. So please check out punkrocksaveslodge.org. If you have a few dollars. Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to add to your overall background just a little bit of the technicalities of it. We are a Denver nonprofit corporation and a 501c public charity approved by the IRS. So, when you check the website, you can also check us out and see that we're all official. And the donations Always check with your own tax advisor, but your donation should be tax deductible. I have to do a disclaimer because I'm a lawyer.
Ew, that's like all grown-up stuff. Like, I'm an anarchist. I don't give a shit.
Little bit of grown-up stuff because we're talking about raising money.
Yes.
I'm teasing you. Me and Adam have, people who listen to the show have probably heard Adam's episode on here. Me and Adam have known each other since we were teenagers. We came up in the San Jose punk rock scene together, and his label put out my old band's records, and we've been around each other a lot for a lot of years. So I'm just busting your chops, dude.
Are their albums going to be on all these re-releases you're doing, Adam?
Oh, I don't know about doing a no warning. They actually did have a reissue of that old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There was like an anthology CD that came out. Oh God, like 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
But, the 7-inch that Adam put out is hard to come by. That is for sure. I don't know if it's worth anything, but it's very hard to get. Like, I think I have one copy, and I think I have a test pressing, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like one of those things, like we recorded a whole record, and then the label, there was confusion about where we fit into the release schedule for the label that was going to put it out. And by the time we got everything to them, they're like, oh, it's going to be like 6 months. And we're like, shit, we don't want to wait 6 months. We just recorded a record. So Adam's like, well, let's put out like a 4-song EP. And then that was it. That's what we did. And then eventually, like, it all came out on the anthology. But yeah, it is something nobody on earth is asking for. So a re-release of it is highly unlikely.
I specialize in records like that. Except for this new one we're about to talk about, which everybody seems to be asking for this one.
Yeah. So Adam came to me and was like, hey, I'm putting out this compilation for Punk Rock Saves Lives. It's going to be called Punk Rock Saves Lives, the album Volume 1. Will you do the art for it? And of course, I always look forward to working with Adam on anything. Because like I said, we've been friends forever, and we know how to work with each other. Adam was one of my very first paying customers, actually. He's one of the first people ever in my life to pay me for artwork. And so, like, when I say we go all the way back, it's all the way. And so we came, obviously I was excited to work on it. I had no idea when he brought it up, like, what bands were going to be on the record. And then it's like, he starts running down the list. It's like, oh, Descendents, Flogging Molly, Anti-Flag, Bouncing Souls, like all these bands that I love so much. And I was like, yeah, totally stoked to do it. And so I did all the artwork, and it's coming out now. Did you sell out of them pre-order, or are there still copies going to be available? Or it's sold like crazy.
Yeah, you can still order it at imrecordstore.com. But this is a sort of a copy of it. There's an interesting story about why this isn't an official copy of it, but I think we're still about 2 or 3 weeks from starting to ship these out. We were set to come out a little bit early, actually, but what the records got here, and I opened a couple, and I started playing them and checking one or two. And I found a warped one. And so I just kept checking them over and over. And it turns out that they were boxed while still hot at the pressing plant. And all but 8 were warped.
Oh, no.
So I rejected 992 copies. And those are being repressed as we speak. So there's a delay, but it's for a good reason. And I'm glad I checked them. But yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That really did print nice. I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, you should see it. When you see it in person, you're going to be like, oh yeah.
It's a gorgeous album cover. Mike, thank you so much for doing such cool work. And we gave Kramer credit because you took his original idea of our logo and just made it you just went crazy. It's gorgeous. And the back cover blows my mind. So, we were lucky that, Adam and I and Leland, our artist, relations manager, we just asked bands and they really were great about, yeah, we'll do a track, or we'll give you this, or what do you want? And we told everybody we wanted something live, acoustic, new, or rare. And everybody popped up. I mean, when the Descendents give you an unreleased song, you're doing something right. And I'm going to give all that love to Leland. He made that phone call to Bill, and Bill was like, yeah, whatever you need. And so, I mean, I live pretty close to to Bill and the guys up there at the blasting room. I'm about an hour away, and I do see them out at times, but and they know me, but not on a level that I could call him and just straight up ask for a song. And Leland pulled that off, and then Flogging Molly is instrumental to the founding of the charity, and they were great to send us a song. And Anti-Flag was instrumental, and they sent us a song. The Faction obviously was instrumental, and there's the 2020 version of Skate and Destroy on the album for you guys, and it's recorded in today's technology, so it sounds unbelievable. And some of their greatest grinds disc too, which Adam has on the record store. He's probably got one in his.
I also did the artwork for that one
as
well.
Did.
Yep.
And apparently Adam's getting that artwork tattooed on the back of his back. So
actual size. And let me tell you, this is a 4-session tattoo, and the back, especially near the spine, is very sensitive.
Yes.
I don't have any tattoos. I for some reason, I just, as an artist, like, I never got any. And everybody tells me, though, the closer the skin is to the bone, the worse your misery is going to be.
Yeah, I have a lot of tattoos, and I think in the last few years, Adam has now surpassed me. So
yeah, and Adam, you just kind of started getting them like in the last decade, right?
Well, 6 years ago, the first tattoo, which is artwork from Little Devil by The Cult, the 7-inch, was my 50th birthday present to myself. I got a tattoo, and then I kind of got hooked. So for the last 6 years, it's always like, okay, what's next?
You have like a whole bunch of Kiss tattoos and stuff now, right?
Just one Kiss tattoo. Okay. I have Paul Stanley from the cover of the first comic, and then I've got Joey Ramone, and I've got Jimmy Page, and I've got Angus and Vaughn, and I've got a Golden Knight skater who's getting a touch-up soon.
Oh, nice.
But all my favorite characters.
It's kind of we all have themes. I've got a travel arm that's all tattoos of cities that I've gone to on tour.
See, that's probably how I would do it. If I was going to do tattoos, I would get a travel thing, something like I've been to all these places, Well,
that's luckily what this arm is. And it's different cities, and it might not mean that city to you, but it does to me. And I can tell a story behind them all. Then I have a whole nautical arm, and then I have a favorite band's leg, and I have a childhood memories leg. So all sorts of cool stuff. I got to get the Evel Knievel on the toy, the motorcycle toy. I need that tattoo. I
bought the re-release of that toy. Adam collects records. I collect toys. And so like, as soon as the re-release came of that, I was like, that's like the greatest toy ever made in the history of toys. Like, I have it.
Yeah. I think I went through about 100 of them when I was in between the ages of 5 and 15, so.
I bet Steve Caballero has an original, because he's a Evel Knievel collector.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what made him want to be a skateboarder, right? Was watching Evel Knievel jump stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I got access to a skateboard, not a motorcycle. I can do that."
Except now he has a ton of motorcycles too. Right?
Now he jumps motorcycles too. Yeah.
Yeah, I watch his Instagram a lot. Luckily through Adam, I've gotten to know him on a personal level, but just watching, someone that you completely loved watching skateboard just from a distance, obviously. I was lucky, though. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, and we had the Savannah Slamma back in the day, hosted by Tim Malins from High Tide Surf Shop and everything. And it became a pretty well-known skate festival for a number of years. And so we got to see the big names when we were young skater punks, but we got to go watch, and it was rad. So all of the tying together. I saw Tim last weekend, actually. I got, because my wife and I were both vaccinated and my parents were vaccinated, I finally went to see my little mom for Mother's Day, believe it or not. First time in a year and a half I got to see my mom. And Tim came out and had dinner with us one night. We talked, and he brought us Savannah Slammer shirts, but then when he left, he forgot to give them to us in the car. So he reprinted the old Savannah Slammer shirts, so you can get them if you want. So it's fun to say, but you know, the skateboarding and the love of music, you know, all fed right into what the charity became. And then, you know, I said to Adam, let's make a charity album, and I was thinking, you know, mainly, you know, the people on our board and stuff like that. And then we started getting getting Leland involved, and Leland goes, "Oh, let me call the Descendents. All right, let me call the Bouncing Souls." And everybody pretty much said yes. It was pretty incredible. So the lineup's insane. And then we did put some new bands on there. I'm kind of proud to say that we have a track on there, Try, Adam and my band. These Roving Years is what Try stands for. Kind of playing on, I thought it was a play on my old nickname and a Flogging Molly lyric, but it also works like an old hardcore band because we have initials that mean something. Yeah. And so it was all kind of a throwback. And I had not been in a band since 94, maybe 95 at the latest. Maybe Remnants by 95. So getting back in the studio and making something after being a roadie and a charity guy for so long kind of felt really, really great. I'm glad Adam pushed me, and he pushed to get a lot of good out of me. And it was really cool to sing in a different register than I had sung in the past. And so Try's on there. United Defiance, great new young band out of the East Bay area. They've got a track on there that's really, really rad. Mercy Music, that track is unbelievable. Reno Divorce from Denver threw in an amazing track. A punk rock track with some steel guitar in it. So leads off side 2. And it's a great song that kind of plays into addiction and struggling with addiction. So it leads down the path of being, you know, getting to new stuff. So that's unbelievable. I know I'm leaving out a lot of bands, but it's just so stacked. Adam, who did I leave out, sir?
Oh, I don't know. But
HR Face to Face.
Yeah. HR Face to Face. I mean,
yeah, Suburban Resistance.
Yeah, we tried to. We this sort of fell into place, and then we looked at it and said, "That's kind of cool." So we're going to try and do it again. And that was, we had a series of bigger bands that we call anchor tenants that will definitely move some records for us. And then we have what we call baby bands that we think should be exposed. And so it's like 75% sort of anchor tenants, but then we kind of save a quarter of the record for some smaller stuff. And basically used IM Records as the guinea pig for that piece of the record. But it kind of connected with us to the point that we kind of like that ratio. And we think that the future volumes of this, which I'll tell you something else about our future plans, but we're working on number 2, and we're thinking, let's all reach out and try and get our anchor tenants so that we know is going to be a good fundraiser. Because we'd like to sell all 1,000 copies of each volume that comes out. And the first one's on track to do that pretty comfortably. So we want some anchor tenants. We like the big names. But then let's also try and expose somebody as well, 3-4 bands as well. Let's mix it up. And so I'd like to carry that over. Hopefully we can pull that off. And then when volume 5 comes out, so I'm thinking 3 years from now, there's going to be a limited edition gold foil embossed box that fits all prior volumes that you can get as well. And so you're going to want to follow along through 1 through 5 and then get the fancy box. So everybody needs to put it on the radar and not miss one.
Yep. And we're,
That's
like I
amazing.
said, we are crazy knee deep in 2 already. And I've gotten some really cool submissions and yeses believe it or not, the last few days. So, and the big push on the second one is a lot of really cool feminine, female lead, all female, really cool. We want to get a lot of really cool female punk bands involved. So a lot of cool stuff coming through. Volume 3, I probably have a couple of, it's weird. I'm telling people that submit right now that it could be 2 or 3 because we want to get those both lined up pretty quick. So, we'll, we won't short anybody or anything like that, but we'll tell them, okay, these are all for either 2 or 3. And when we get it organized, okay, you're going to be on 2, you're going to be on 3, you're going to, so it's really cool. The first one came together so fast and so furious that now everybody that didn't get involved wants to get involved now. So it's really cool. Sorry, my dog's
Yeah,
here
no problem. We love dogs on this show. they're regular guests.
Well, I'll show you something. We'll talk about something else in a little bit that we have as a fundraiser coming that you'll dig too. So, and it involves a dog. So there you go.
We lost our basset hound over the COVID. He got cancer and we had to put him down, which was way harder it seems like because of the COVID stuff, because it was just such a weird emotional year in general. And then to have to go through that, and I saw a bunch of other friends go through that too. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Tina and I lost our oldest Corgi during COVID and he wasn't old enough to go yet. So it was really sad.
Yeah,
and he was
a rough one.
He was the Corgi that toured the United States with me. So a lot of people met Irk, the punk rock Corgi. So, and he's our wonderful memory now. So,
hey, Rob,
one of the nice things about dogs though is there are always going to be dogs, and there's always dogs that need to be rescued. And like all of my dogs, I've had like 6 basset hounds, and they've all been rescues. So there's always dogs to be rescued. You always get another one.
There you go. Adam, what was your question?
This conversation was reminding me. I thought we'd had an initiative, Punk Rock Saves Wolves, and
yes.
So I mean, speaking of the broad scope, because we're a nonprofit that can do direct action and be a pass through, it's really incredible the variety of things. When people talk to me about the charity, I say, "What are you guys doing?" I say, "We're just saving the entire world." Because nothing's off limits, and this conversation reminded me of the thing with the wolves.
Yeah, the Colorado had an initiative to bring wild wolves back to to Colorado, and one of our friends is very, very wired into the wolf rescue sanctuaries here in Colorado, and she was working very hard to get it on the ballot, and she came to us and we set up a couple of shows and got a bunch of punk rockers to sign a petition that were voters, and it did pass. It got on the ballot and did pass. It's controversial, obviously. But we're a punk rock charity. We're going to stand for what we believe in. We did studies, and to us, it made sense that a wild predator should be back to help the ecological system. So, I understand the ranchers that don't want it and all of that. And that obviously all of that makes sense too. But, we fell on one side and we helped, and it did pass, which was really rad. So that was a cool, we did a shirt for the night. There were only 6 of those shirts originally, the Punk Rock Saves Wolves shirts. And people saw them and wanted them so much, we did a run of them and sold them out or got donations for them, obviously. So
yeah, I mean, merch. If you can get donations through merch, punk rockers like to buy shirts, man.
It is a nice little part of us, but we're starting to learn how to get into real deal fundraising, and it's luckily we have one of our board members is an employee of another major charity, and he has learned a ton about peer-to-peer and one-on-one fundraising. And luckily he's going to teach us that knowledge. So I've got some learning in my near future. And I think it might've been a GI Joe or a cartoon when we were kids that said one of the best ways to do your life is to learn something new every day. And I try to do, even if it's something silly, I try to pick up something new every day. And so if he's going to teach me that knowledge, that's something not only can I learn, but something that hopefully can help us continue to grow and keep trying to change the world. So,
well, you know what I learned recently related to this. Number one is that when you do a Facebook donation, you can just turn it on for a monthly subscription and select Punk Rock Saves Lives, which I did. So I don't even have to think about it, whether it's $10 or $25 or some whatever amount. You can turn on a subscription and support Punk Rock Saves Lives without having to think. It just goes on in the background, and they send you the little receipts for your taxes. Very convenient. And then the Amazon Smile option, all your Amazon shopping can generate a charitable donation to, guess who? You can pick Punk Rock Saves Lives for Amazon Smile. So you're buying toilet paper and you're helping save the world with Rob and Adam.
I will absolutely do that Amazon one, because it's like we buy like pretty much everything through Amazon now, right? Because especially in the last year, and so it's like if I can contribute in that, if that's the way I can contribute, then I will set that up for sure. I'll text you about it afterward.
It's really easy, but the hardest thing to do is to remember to go to Amazon Smile to place your orders instead of Amazon. That's my hardest part, is I always just go to Amazon. But if you type in Amazon Smile, it's still your Prime account. It's still everything. You order through there and we get a small donation. So it's really rad.
I love it. That's amazing.
But we do have, on that same point, Adam, we now have a new fundraising system that is on the website, where if you don't do Facebook or anything like that, you can set up a monthly donation through or what we're going to call our hooligan program. And we're going to bring that back to life. We started it when the charity started, but COVID put such a cramp on so many people in so many ways. We got to a point where we couldn't push it that much. But as we're coming out of this, if you do want to make a $5, $10, $25, up to whatever you want to donate a month, you can set it up, and we'll do some special mail outs and gifts to the people in that club and all sorts of stuff over time. And you never know what you get, but it's called our hooligan program. And Tina has been really working hard on revamping that. Tina is my wife and our director. One of the biggest things about the charity when we wanted to set it up is we wanted it to be as diverse and as utilitarian and include everybody. And even though technically I'm a lot of times the face of the charity, my wife is the one doing most of the work. Once we get back to touring, I'll be out there on a daily basis, killing it for us all over the country, but she keeps it under control. And so once again, woman power. So that's one of the big pushes, and equality and justice, so it's pretty rad.
We were talking a little bit earlier about skateboarding, and you were talking a little bit, and then you brought it back around again to like having female bands involved. And growing up in the punk scene in the 80s, like there were always girls trying to be involved, and one of the things, and I truly understand it was difficult for them in both the skateboarding aspect and in the music aspect. You would see girls in bands, but you almost never saw all girl bands. And when you if you saw a girl with a skateboard, she would never skate in front of other guys. Like, it was like a weird thing. And one of my favorite things about the world over probably the last 10 years is that that's lessened. There's so many good all-female bands now, and there always have been, but there's so many now, and there's so many really, really good female skateboarders. Like, I mean, even when my sons were growing up and we were skating together, like, it was like there was like one professional woman skateboarder, like Alyssa Steamer was like it. And now it's like there are tons of them, and they rip. They're so good, and there's like one of my things with my podcast is I always want to be inclusive too. So I'm always excited about all these new all-female bands that are out these days, that I'm like constantly trying to have them on, because there's like such a huge part of my music menu nowadays, you know? And it's like, I love it. I love that. I love that there are that part of the world is opened up to the female population, and that's like an equal part. Cause we all grew up in it. You know how it was. It was a total sausage party for us, you know? And it's like, so cool that it's so much more open now, you know?
Well, yeah,
Yep.
you know, and as somebody, you know, as a skater and band member from the 80s till now, I mean, we men, boys, I mean, till you're like 25, you're still a boy in my mind.
35 maybe.
I mean,
35.
we were terrible about it, you know. We were terrible about perpetuating it and being exclusionary and having the attitude that women were lesser in music and skating and things like that. And I'm willing to take on responsibility for my part in that.
Oh, there's that guy. My wife's gonna freak out. She like loves corgis.
Well, this is Walter.
Yeah. So, I mean, the change. I don't know that the women musicians and the women skaters weren't always there, but I think maybe we and to some extent the world is getting better at balance.
For sure.
Because we were terrible. I mean, white suburban skater kid in the 80s. I can't believe the things I thought and said, and it's just. I'm trying now.
We are, you know, we're a little bit of kind of a product of the time that we came up in, but I truly do believe that every single person has an obligation to always try to be a better person, no matter how old they are. And like Rob was saying about learning something all the time, I think it's everybody's obligation to try to learn how they can be a better person and see things in a broader sense. It's like this thing that exists that I always call old think, where it's like, you know, back in my day type of mentality. And I just always am trying to put all of that out of my mind, of like, things weren't necessarily better at this golden time of my life because, you know, maybe somebody else wasn't able to participate the way that I was, you know what I mean? And it's like, so I tried to be excited about the doors being open for more people now, more, you know, LGBT, you know, women. Like, when we went to shows as a kid, Adam, there was always like one black kid at the punk rock show, and now it's like, you know, everything is so integrated in the scene now that I, for one, I love it. It makes me happy that punk rock has been able to evolve to the point where that's the deal. You know what I mean? Like I like that about what I've committed my entire life to.
back to the album cover. The idea of the logo originally is that's four hands interlocked, and one is supposed to be a feminine of some sort. One is supposed to be black. One is supposed to be white. One's supposed to be brown. And the idea is the unity. And the greatest thing was the logo tends to a lot of times be, you know, black and white like that. And you can see what the idea was, but your artwork took it to the even next level. Now you really can tell. And that's so thank you, Mike. That blows me away. I can't wait to frame my copy and put it on the wall. Luckily, Adam sent me my copy of the test pressing that's sitting here beside me, so I can always listen to it. But I can't wait to hang up my copy, get it framed up, and make it look really beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to emphasize the different that all four of the arms were coming from a different place. You know, whether it was culturally or whatever. The tattoos are a little different, and they're, you know, I wanted it to be you seem to have gotten what I was going for, so that works out. Yeah.
we knew immediately. It was perfect. And then the back cover is beautiful too. We do get, I mean, tons of comments on the Facebook pages and the Instagrams and all that just talk about how amazing the artwork is. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I
I was pretty happy with it. You know, it's like one of the things that's weird about my art career is like, when I'm doing these things, it never really occurs to me at the time that they're going to go out into the world and have their own life. You know what I mean? Like I to pull them from inside of my brain and kind of put them together, and it's always happening here in my little bubble. And then, you know, they go out into the world and I am reminded at different times that people actually see this stuff and people actually pay attention to it. And it's always nice to get that feedback for sure, because like I do live in a weird artist bubble.
That's okay. One of the, back to the women for just a second, one of the most amazing things in the world. And if you don't know, they were a punk band, you don't know the history of music, but the Go-Go's just got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Go-Go's were as punk as could be. And I still think even when they morphed into a new wave band, they still had those punk ethos, and first female band to write all their songs, perform all their songs, so many historic points and amazing stuff. And now they're going to get to join, whether you like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or not. I agree that they leave out and they ignore metal more than they should, and stuff like that. And sometimes they put a band in too soon, but they got it right. They got it right on a lot of levels this year, except for Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden needs to be Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, guys. So that was the band that didn't get in this year that should have.
I mean,
but
that's a whole different conversation. I'm not like a huge fan of like award stuff in general. I think it's just too weird and arbitrary for me personally. But then at the same time, I'm a fucking hypocrite. I had my work hang in the Grammy Museum and I was very excited about it. and then like every year I'm like, the Grammys are stupid. And then High on Fire, who is my favorite band of all time, won a Grammy, and I was all, yeah, that's right. And all my friends are like, you hate the Grammys. Why do you care? I'm like, because it means something to me now, you know?
I was a Grammy voter for many years, and I got so discouraged by the ballots that I resigned as a Grammy voter and haven't done it for a long time. But yeah, the awards system is
for everything, movies, everything. It's just too weird and arbitrary.
yeah, the one thing I will tell you about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that I don't know if people know. Yes, they get a lot of things wrong, but I was lucky enough. I was on tour with, not only the Warped Tour, we were there, but I was on tour with The Alarm. And if you're a touring band and you are going through Cleveland, you can call and tell them you're coming, and you get in not only free as a band, but or with your tour laminate or whatever, you get in free. But if you let them know enough in advance, sometimes they can set up a private tour for you. And awesome. Mike had done that from The Alarm, and I was out with them not only as the charity, but I was kind of tour managing as I was doing the charity as well. He had called and set it up for us, and they took us into the vault, and they showed us stuff that they hadn't gotten to display yet. Like, I got to see the original notepad with London Calling's lyrics written on it by Joe Strummer, but it was still called Ice Age. And they have all of this. They are preserving so much history, and so much, believe it or not, they have so much punk rock history that it's incredible. You know, they might not always give punk and metal the what it deserves, but they are preserving the history. They have the CBGB's awning, the last awning is hanging set up just like it was, and there's a mural that makes it look like you're standing outside of CBGB's.
Oh, nice.
And so
Didn't they try to open a CBGB's in Vegas or something, Adam?
Yeah, I don't think that got too far. And then there's something
Thank
in a
God.
mall or an airport somewhere where somebody licensed the name. I don't know. This is back in my day.
Yep.
To do some old speak for you. Back in my day, there was only one CBGB's, and it was in Blaker and
Hey,
Bowery, and that's the end.
it's not in your day. There's only one CBGB's, guys.
You actually got to play there, Adam. That's that's a thing. That's a thing.
Played there 3 times.
Yeah.
I am scared. I'm scared to tell you that I did use the bathroom there.
Well, listen, I've toured in a crust punk band, and I've played a lot of venues. I've seen pictures of the CBGB's bathroom, and it doesn't look great, but I've seen every bit as worse everywhere. Punk rock venue bathroom is just the standard. It's like there's only that much difference between the best and the worst.
And you can probably agree with me. How many punk houses did you stay in that might have been 10 times worse?
Oh, 100 times worse.
Yeah.
touring in Europe and staying in some of those squats in in Vienna and in Hungary and Budapest. It's like, it's rough.
and through all that, we didn't give up on trying to save this world. So
right.
Yeah, no, of course, that's why I think one of the things that kind of gets lost a little bit in the history of punk rock, because there's so many facets of it. There's everything from 7 Seconds, Minor Threat to G.G. Allin. You know what I mean? Yep. It's like there's all different types of punk rock, but I think for me personally, the thing that after nearly 40 years of being involved in this music is that the general consensus about punk rock has always been about service to your community. It may have started as service to the punk rock community, whether it was you made art for flyers and zines, or, you booked shows at the Elks Lodge. There was always about service to your community to help. Nobody was going to do these things for us. We had to do them ourselves, which is kind of where the DIY spirit comes from. And just that we've all grown up and been adults and for so long now, and punk rock has been a thing for so long that even the kids that have come up behind us, that is what really it has become for the most part. Is it's about service to the greater community, and I think that's one of the reasons why a punk rock saves lives type of thing is totally unsurprising to me, that not only that it exists, but that you guys are finding success with it, because that's what we're all doing with, you don't write punk rock lyrics and not understand that they are meant to, go out and serve the community, change the world,
Yeah. You're starting to sound like a hippie a little bit there. Peace and love. So you can be careful, my friend. We're doing it a lot louder.
Yep. The reason I didn't know, I didn't know there's a huge segment of punk rockers that love the Grateful Dead, and I never ever would have thought that. To me, that was as far opposite as you could possibly get. And then I met that section over the last 15 years or so, and it's just like, okay, but good for you. That's
good. I mean, good for everybody. However you want to live your life. Like, I might judge you a little bit, but
well, I'm trying not to. I was bad for a long time, and I've come out on record the last year basically saying, I don't care what you think is punk rock.
For sure.
If a band is doing it their way and living out their dream the way they want to do it, and DIY and all of that, okay, you're a punk to me. And that could be that, and that encompasses so much. And I had to learn. I used to judge, like, I didn't think,
sure,
a lot of the 90s pop punk bands, I was like, is this punk? Is this, but it is. And, and it's their definition of punk. And so I've been trying to catch myself when I judge or try to judge something, and I'm not above anybody else. I have faults and I make faults, but I'm trying to go, well, that's punk rock to someone. I'll make an argument that the original hip hop movement
Oh,
is fuck. Excuse my language, but geez, think about, African Bambaataa. Think about Sugar Hill Gang. Think about Public Enemy. Think about De La Soul. All these bands came and they did it their way, and it changed their community, and then changed all of our communities. And that, to
I've
me,
talked about that a little bit before on the podcast, where there was a lot of us in that mid '80s punk scene when hip hop and rap started coming up, Run DMC and that kind of stuff, that we glommed onto it like right away. I mean, that's how you got the Beastie Boys, right? They were a
yeah,
hardcore punk band who heard that stuff, and I think the reason that it resonated with punk so much is that it is protest music. Hip hop, the original hip hop stuff is protest music. And so that's why I think it connected with the punk scene so much, especially in New York and Los Angeles. And then, I mean, if you're looking for something that screams punk rock that doesn't sound like punk rock, you don't have to go any further than Straight Outta Compton by NWA. That's the most punk record that's ever been made by anybody.
very, very, very true. And you can go back to the origins of hip hop and everything, and to show the correlation. The Clash came to America and literally didn't leave New York because they fell in love with all of the street beat and all of
Yep.
all of that early hip hop, and embraced it and did a whole album. Clash on Broadway is about them literally staying here just to be part. And both punk rock and rap, to me, were revolutionary art. And
Sure.
that's no matter how you want to define it, in our world, that's punk. And so,
For me, one of the it's always kind of been like I studied Buddhism for a good part of my adult life, and it's kind of the same. It's like as soon as you try to define what either one of those things are, it means that you don't understand at all what you're talking about. If you try to tell somebody what is or isn't punk rock, you don't get it at all. You're missing the point entirely.
that's what the biggest point. Speaking of one of our favorite things is punk rock bowling, but if you get into the punk rock bowling groups online, sometimes it's like, it's so tedious because there are people that swear that Devo is not a punk band. I mean, it gets worse than that, but I mean, how could you not think?
I mean,
Devo,
even if they aren't traditionally playing punk music, they're as punk rock as it gets.
exactly.
I mean, there was nobody like Devo when they came out, and they were one of those gateway bands for me, for sure. Like seeing them on Saturday Night Live and those other late night TV shows in the late 70s that they were on, that piqued my interest to other types of music besides AC/DC. And then when Fear was on Saturday Night Live, that was it for me. That was the end. I was like, this is all I want to listen to. It's all I care about. Whatever this is, that's all I want to know about.
Yeah, Devo played punk rock bowling once before, and they just slayed it. Even if you were skeptical going in, because you're strictly, late 80s hardcore or whatever your particular view of your own musical taste was, you would be drawn in by them, their music, their show, their musicianship. They just totally slayed it.
Yeah, I mean, that was like the last punk rock bowling that I went to, which I guess would have been 18 or 19. Oh, no, anyway, the Rancid Hives refused year. I'm not a particularly huge fan of ska music, but like the Specials were incredible. I mean, they were incredible. And I was never really a huge fan of the Stranglers, and I sat and watched that Strangler set, and it was amazing. They were amazing.
Yeah, I've got a ton of Stranglers records. I was so stoked to finally get to see them.
Yeah, I mean, the only song I ever knew by them really before that was Golden Brown. Like that was, that, and that's not by traditional sense isn't a punk rock song at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I don't even know what you'd call it, but Yeah, they were fantastic. They were, that's the thing, like you gotta, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say you gotta. Nobody's got to do anything, but I think it helps to have as open a mind as you can about things because I remember in the '80s, like I didn't care about anything but hardcore bands. Like Adam can attest to that. Like I didn't care about anything but hardcore bands, and it was like I was just annoyed by anything that wasn't going fast, And it's
Yeah.
you grow and hopefully like the '90s, that '90s like Warped Tour punk. That's never really been my thing, but I don't discredit the people who grew up on it. It's as important to them as Minor Threat is to me. Like all those bands they're important to that generation, and now there's a new generation, and I think it's interesting. Just to kind of speak a little bit on punk rock a little bit more is I kind of thought that innovation in punk rock was over with. I kind of figured that last Warped Tour kind of sound, like that whole No Effects and all those bands were kind of going to be where punk just stayed forever.
Yeah.
And a large part of it has, for sure, but I listened to that band Idols, and they're as punk rock as any punk rock band ever, but it's something different and new.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything else.
Yeah, but it's clearly it is clearly punk music to me. And like Viagra Boys to a lesser extent kind of also. There's this new kind of generation of kids that are making, I don't even call them kids, they're fucking grown-ass people.
Yeah.
There's a whole new generation of people who've had 30 years of influence from Sex Pistols and Ramones to Minor Threat, Adolescents to Offspring and No Effects and everything in between to form new ways to make it sound. And that seems to be happening.
I definitely hear Sex Pistols in the Idols, and which is great. And we're meeting up in LA, right, for an Idol show.
Yeah, I'm so excited. My
so
wife, that's
awesome.
One of those bands I turned my wife on to. She's not super into punk all the time, but she knows the real thing when she hears it. And I had Idols on when I was making my breakfast one day. She's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this band Idols." And so she got totally into it. And then when I saw that they were playing, she's like, "Buy tickets right now. We're absolutely going." And I was excited that you Vegas dudes were coming out to I have a bunch of friends who from all over the Western United States who are coming to LA for that show. It's going to be Friend Fest.
They might be the most important band to come out in a long time. So.
I don't disagree with you. I think that for me, their last record is as important to the development of punk rock and underground music as Refused Shape of Punk to Come was, because there was anything like that record when it came out, to the point that I didn't even like it because I was a Refused fan. I liked all their hardcore records, and when that came out, I didn't get it. I didn't get it at first at all, and it probably took me a couple years before I like really started sitting down with it. And I think for the '90s to early 2000s, that record. It changed a lot of things. And I think you're right. I think Idols are probably the most important. Like, they don't like to be called a punk band, I hear. But if they aren't punk, I don't know what I've been listening to for the last 37 years.
Well, let's get them on a future Punk Rock Saves Lives compilation record.
They were all about that shit. So
yeah, they were very, very cool to us in the last charity. They came to Austin City Limits, and not only did they play Austin City Limits, but they played a club show. And one of our big volunteers took one of our skate decks over, and they signed it and and he told them the idea of the charity and everything. And they were all behind it. So now I can try to rebuild that relationship now that, especially if they're coming to America, so we can, maybe talk to them again face to face and get them really to play off one of our other bands face to face, but yeah, they're incredible, and there's so many ways and so many different. That's why I have no trouble believing that the 5 volumes will happen, because there's so many bands that have come to us after seeing the lineup of the first one, wanting to be on the second one, and I'm hoping my buddies from Australia come through. So that's my little hint for the night. But
I wanted, before we start winding down, I know you were on a broadcast before this, Rob, with the Pennywise guys. So
yep.
You're probably getting tired. But what Adam, you seem to have a particular thing about the snake on the cover of the Punk Rock Saves Lives record, and you're like, well, when we talk, I wanted to explain a little bit about the snake.
Yeah, you did this, and the snake was behind there, and I thought that was all cool. And then you sent me the back, and it was really just the snake. There was no text or anything at first, and I got to see the snake, and I think that that the snake hit me more than it hit you as its creator, because when you first sent it over with the text was ignoring the snake. You had the text. It looked great. There was nothing wrong with how you laid it out.
I'm terrible at text layout, so don't worry about it insulting me.
I still saved that, actually, but it was just centered kind of running down the left here, and it wasn't interacting with, or what I call honoring the snake. And so when we went back and forth on this typesetting, I wanted the type to be subservient to the snake. And so I wanted it tucked in below, and this is, in my mind, a little pedestal, and the snake is on the pedestal, and then the line breaks are set up to be snakes, so that everything served the snake. And I just think, because the snake had hit me so much, when I got your first take on the text, I thought the text was not honoring the snake enough. So that's my snake story. For everybody who gets the record and stares at this longer than they should, think about the snake.
A lot of discussion went into how that text was going to go on the back of that record. I can tell you that.
But that's why the curves of the line breaks resemble snakes.
And it also shows what the three people behind it have so many different expertise. Leland and I are out there just being us and asking bands to be part of this, and Adam's behind the scenes making, getting you involved and getting, wait, the snake's getting served. And it truly is. There's only 1,000 of these guys, and it's a major, if you're a vinyl collector or a music collector. And I will say this, because we get bombarded by it all the time. We purposely set out to make a vinyl only compilation, and we got all the bands, and all the bands agreed to give us these songs. We are not asking for their rights to the song. They keep all their digital rights and everything. This is only vinyl, and it's ultra collectible, but we're not just trying to make collection. We're trying to make it awesome. And I think the first one and the bands that are coming to the forefront to be on 2 and 3 already are awesome. And I can't wait to keep rolling them out to you. And it keeps raising. And, the great thing about working with Adam directly, not only the money is coming straight to the charity, and we're naming a second beneficiary for each album. I didn't get into this earlier, but once we sell them all and see what it generates for Punk Rock Saves Lives, we're going to give a part of that to this first album to NIVA, to the National Independent Venue Association, and try to save some more of our venues that are closing due to COVID and have struggled. It's not going to raise an absolute ton, but it is direct money that we're going to give to them. And even though the government passed that bill that was supposed to give the money to the private venues and everything, none of them have gotten a dime yet. The vice president of NIVA lives here in Denver, and I talk to him on a regular basis, and none of that money has come through yet. So if you do love your independent venues, go do something to help them right now. If they're doing pre-sale ticket where you can buy 10 tickets to the next 100 shows, and it doesn't matter what one, you just call and you get clicked, buy it, and do whatever you can to put some money into your local venues that have survived. We've unfortunately lost so many amazing venues during this. We don't need to lose more. Denver lost a couple of where the punk bands played, guys. When we do get reopened, we got to figure out a way for our up and coming and younger bands to have a place to play, and that's sad. So
well, just be glad that you're not in Los Angeles, where the city decides every 3 years to just go shut down whatever punk club everybody's going to, and then I swear it's the weirdest thing, like going all the way back to like the Black Flag days. The city of Los Angeles fucking hates punk rock, and every time there's a new good venue where you can go to see real punk bands, it's good for about 2 or so years, and then the city comes in, and whatever regulations they can put on that venue to make it so bands can no longer play there, they do that, and that place gets shut down, and we've got to find someplace else to go. It's madness to me that it's like, it's been like 40 years. Like, give us a break there. You know what I mean? Like,
I would agree with you that that's Los Angeles, but I think that's a lot of cities.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I grew up in the Atlanta, Savannah punk rock scene and the Nashville punk rock scene, and it really was the same exact thing. You'd have a club peak for a couple of years, and then the cops would be sitting outside. And then
you'd think it would be past that by now. Jesus Christ.
Still not.
The punks are no longer the bad guys on TV shows like we were talking about. We're the good guys now. We're saving lives.
We're in charities. We're saving the world.
Pretty fun.
Amazing. It's amazing.
We've been really lucky, and thank you to everybody that has embraced Punk Rock Saves Lives .org. Please make sure you come see us. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that fun stuff. We've got stuff going on out there. But get involved. The bottom line is we're trying to encourage you to do things in your community, and you can use us. You can use our logo, make your own banner, go do what you want. Just do something and do what finish what you say. If you're going to do a food drive, do a food drive and take it to a food bank. It's that simple. And you can say, this is from Punk Rock Saves Lives and me. And that's the idea, is we're trying to empower our communities to make our communities better. And we're all one community. We're all one scene. No matter what the breaks are, Mike, you said you weren't the biggest ska fan. I think ska is punk. So I'm not one of those people that differentiates is ska punk and it's punk ska.
It just doesn't speak to me personally, but I do agree with you that it is punk and it is part of the scene. It's just not a style. It's just not a style that resonates.
Not everybody likes everything. I'm not the world's biggest crust punk fan, but I get what they're doing, and I get it's just something doesn't speak to me, and but there are bands that do, and there one that's going to be on the stage with the Adam's Suburban Resistance. I'm very happy for my bandmate and my label mates, Suburban Resistance, but I'm jealous too. We want to play punk rock bowling, so good for them. But they're going to be on the main stage. But also something I've really gotten turned on to the last few days. Make sure you check out Flail Records out of I think it's Portland, Oregon. I could be just wrong there, but Flail is the Bridge City Centers, and they're playing the main stage too. And they sent me some stuff, and man, I'm stoked about that. So
are they associated with the Bridge City Sessions on YouTube?
I don't know, but I love the Bridge City Sessions.
I watch that. I watch them all the time.
And United Defiance, if you go back and watch the old ones, the old Bridge City Sessions, and check out Venomous Pinks did a great one.
Those are my girls. Those are my own girls.
Gabby's on our advisory committee, and they're very dear to the charity, and we love them.
They're all about it. I love those girls.
And we share we're all with Earth Skateboards in some way, shape, or form, which is Clay Lake and Jason DeVore from Authority Zero. They
did this
have,
awesome thing with
yep,
my artwork. Earth.
Earth Skateboards. There you go.
Oh, I did not know that they were part of Authority Zero. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's Jason, the lead singer. He's part owner of Earth Skateboards. So
awesome.
So it ties us even more together. And we just ran out of the Punk Rock Saves Lives boards. Actually, Adam, we got to figure out what to do. I still have the 2 Punk Rock Saves Lives skate decks signed by the entire faction at their last show ever.
Are they the red Chris Sherry artwork?
No, they're the black.
Oh yeah.
Y'all signed 2 of them for us, and I was going to auction them on the Flogging Molly cruise, but then with COVID, everything got canceled, and they are still here. So we're going to figure out a cool way to auction those for all you faction fans out there. Make sure you keep an eye. And with the advent of, and like you said, with the 501c3 and everything, we have to figure out the logistics and the laws, but apparently we can have raffles or auctions online now. So we got to just figure out the system and make it cool. But, we collect all sorts of cool stuff, and bands are so generous with us that we usually have good auctions. So keep your eyes out. We're going to get that up somewhere soon. And they all signed them. They're black with silver print that say Punk Rock Saves Lives. And then the faction all signed in silver Sharpie. So it's pretty rad.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, gentlemen. Anything to wrap up? I'm going to let you guys go.
One last thing. We have a kid's book.
Oh, right. I saw that.
And it's going to be released on June 5th. It's about a punk rock corgi. Go figure. And I know it's my nickname, and I just presented the idea to the artist, and it's the artist Kurt Falsty, or C. Falsty Books, and he's the one that draws the Tony Sly Foundation kids books called Tony Fly Saves the Sky. So I went to him with an idea and just gave him the idea, and I said probably call it Punk Rover Saves Lives, and I did it to keep it as PRSL. And it wasn't playing on my nickname or anything. I was trying to do a dog and
wasn't an ego trip.
Wasn't an ego trip. I promised that, and I somehow lost you guys. Let me get back here. Are we in Safari? Nope. Can you hear me?
I can still hear you. Yeah. We just can't see you.
Hear you.
What the heck happened here?
Disabled video.
Oh, there we go.
I saw you for a second.
Come back.
I saw you for a second. It's not in Google. Where is this? Is it in Chrome? That is really weird.
All right.
Let me see if I can just hit the Zoom link again.
There
we are. Woohoo! Sorry about
Restart.
that.
Restart the book.
I'm not a technological wizard, but he took the idea that I gave him and made a whole story. And it's rad, and we're going to release it on June 5th with a party here at Mutiny Information Cafe in Denver. But then it'll be available online at our store. And believe it or not, Amazon is going to carry a book for us. And
that's great.
It's really, really cool, and it benefits us. And it's actually a great kid story. And my dog as a punk rocker. There you go.
It's totally rad. I know from my side of things, if you guys ever need art for anything, you can always ask me. I'm always happy to be involved in anything you guys got going on. If I can help in any way, I'm happy to. So, but you guys know that. So
yeah.
So I don't think Adam will do it, but I'll say this one last thing. Outside of Punk Rock Saves Lives, check out our band, These Roving Years. It's on IM also at the imrecordstore.com. We have a vinyl coming, and you can get the CDs now. Actually, I get the joke. I've never had a band have a CD.
That's another piece of art that I've done for,
you did
for you guys.
Yeah, you did our logo.
Yeah, I did that logo too.
So it's pretty cool. Like, every band I was ever in had cassettes, but we never had a CD, and we never had vinyl because by the time we were making things, vinyl was really dead.
Yeah.
So
that's been a long, worn out subject on here with me and how much I hated CDs at the beginning because it shrank all of the art down, and that's what I cared as much about as the music on the record was the album art.
I will agree. One of my favorite things of growing up and falling in love with a band was to go read the liner notes and see who they thanked, and I would go find those bands and I found so many rad bands that way. I think Faction led me to Odd Man Out, led me to, and so many other rad things. 7 Seconds led me to so many rad bands, and that, Bad Religion later on took me to so many more badass bands. And just because they thanked someone in there, I would go check out that band. And and it wasn't always, I found a lot of classic stuff that I didn't know about, and that's how I became the music junkie I am, as artwork. So yes, very important to us in this world. So
cool, gentlemen. I will talk to you guys soon. And thanks for coming on, and I appreciate your guys' time.
One love, up the punks. Cheers.